I can't is the most dangerous lie you've ever told yourself. You know, it's the invisible chain that you drag around day after day after day, pretending it's your truth. You say, I can't make the calls today. I can't hit that income goal. I can't lead a team. I can't change. So let me tell you the truth. I can't. That's a decision. That's a decision in your head. It's not reality. It's you choosing your comfort zone over your calling. It's you negotiating with your potential because you're afraid of the pain of progress. But here's what I know. You're already paying the price. You're paying the price of regret. You're paying the price of stagnation, and you're paying the price of watching other people pass you by. And the moment you say no more, the moment I can't dies, let me tell you what I can really means. I can, it means I'm no longer a prisoner of my past. I'm no longer stuck in those stories that say I'm not enough. I'm no longer waiting for permission to be great. I can means ownership. It means radical, unapologetic, inconvenient responsibility for your life. Ownership, it's the gateway to power. You don't wait for the market. You don't wait for your manager. You don't wait for those leads. You create, you initiate, you drive. That's what the leaders do. I can, it's not a slogan. It's a daily discipline. It's the decision to act when you don't feel like it. It's this decision to show up after the emotion is gone, when you're drained, because I can. It's not about hype. It's about habit. Let's talk about the cost of greatness. Let's be real. You can say, I can, but are you ready to pay that price? Because you don't get to, I can without I will. There's a cost to this game. You will sacrifice comfort. You will sacrifice people. You will face rejection. You'll have nights where you question everything. But listen to me. You'll never regret betting on yourself. You'll never regret showing up when it was easier to just hide. You'll never regret becoming that person you were born to be. The discomfort, that's temporary. But discipline, that's forever. So you can't say I can and still live like I can't. That means your identity's got to shift. You want to be a top producer? Act like one. You want to be a leader? Speak like one. You want to make six figures? You need to show up like someone who does. You don't become successful and then believe it. You believe it first, and then you become successful. You want to win, but you don't want to do the work. I can becomes the real moment you time block your life with precision. You make those 30 calls you've been avoiding. You film those videos that scare the hell out of you. Knock on the door when nobody's watching. That's the shift. It's not a magical moment. It's a moment. Let me ask you a question. What if your children are watching how you show up right now? What if your future self is begging you not to quit this time? What would change if you just realized you're someone's permission slip? You're someone's proof that I can is real. This is not about ego. This is about impact. You don't just build a business. You build a legacy of belief. When people look at your life, they should say, because they believe I can, now I know I can too. So I'm going to end today a little bit short because it is Saturday, but I'm going to end with this. Every day, you're faced with two voices. You got one that says, you're not enough. It's too late. You can't do this. The other one's whispering, you're built for more. You were born ready. You can do this. And that voice, that second voice, that's the real you. Today's not just another day. Today is your line in the sand. Right now, this moment, decide. Do you want to survive? Or do you want to rise? Say it with me. I can. Louder. I can. Now go out there and show the world, what happens when belief meets execution. Because I can, that's just the beginning. I did is the legacy you're going to leave. Peace.